Tara here. Welcome back to the Evans Family Garden. Today I kind of wanted to talk to you about my thought process on what goes into planting my fall garden. I spent all day at work today just dreaming about the fall garden. Even though it's the middle of July, I cannot wait for fall. Fall's my favorite time of year. The leaves change, it starts to get cool and you get all cozy, and I just love it. Make a nice hot cup of coffee, go out to the garden, love it. So I started planting my fall garden, so I just wanted to show you kind of how I do my thought process. Everyone's going to be different, every climate is going to be different, so you really want to look into your zone. So I'm planting things like celery. I've got my whole fall box here. I'll have to show you. Got a little carried away this year. So, a few kinds of celery. Gonna do some Swiss chard this year. I've never done Swiss chard. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see how it grows. This is a pink Swiss chard. So I'm excited to watch this grow. I'm also really excited to try some recipes. I've got a soup recipe that I think this would go really good in. It's a sausage and potato soup. Gonna try kale. I tried kale last year, but it didn't really turn out, so I'm gonna try it again. That's another thing. When you grow something and it doesn't make it, don't let it discourage you. Do a little bit more research. Maybe it was the wrong time of year. Maybe you planted a little too late, a little too soon. Maybe you needed to thin out your plants sooner. Maybe the tray that you planted it in had disease from before, so make sure you wash out your starter trays. So I'm going to try it again. I really want to be able to grow kale, and so I'm going to keep trying until I succeed. Several different kinds of cabbage. Really excited for this cabbage. This last year we grew cabbage. I grew red cabbage and just basic ones you get from the Home Depot, big box stores. So I ordered some from Baker Creek. I just really liked the shape of it. I just thought it was really cool. And we love cabbage here for tacos, for soups. Victor just likes to eat them raw. Like, I'll cut wedges and he'll just munch on them, which is great. Easy snacks for me to make for him. But cabbage is used really well here, so I love to grow a bunch of it. Broccoli. I've got some purple broccoli from M.A. Gardner. I recently discovered M.A. Gardner and was watching his YouTube videos, and then found out that he has an online store. So I've been ordering seeds from him and been going a little bit overboard, but that's okay because the seeds will last. So I don't know how many seeds I have. What else do I have? Quite a bit of radishes. I think I have like 6 different kinds of radishes. We grew radishes last winter, and they did really well too. They're really fast growers. So I'm gonna do succession planting. So that means I'll plant quite a bit of radishes, because for each seed of a radish you're only gonna get one plant. It's not like a tomato plant where you get a bunch of fruit off of it. Each seed is one harvest. So each seed will grow one radish. So I'm gonna do succession planting. So I'll plant radishes 1 week and then probably wait 2 weeks or so, plant some more radishes, and then it's all depending on whether it's rainy or any of that, right? So you gotta pay attention to that. But I'm gonna do succession planting with my radishes and with my carrots. I like to grow a lot of carrots in the fall and winter. We use them a lot in soups and stews. I like to freeze a bunch of them and then either put them into soups and stews then. They actually do really well, especially if I'm making a stew. I made goat stew in the pressure cooker and used frozen carrots, and they tasted just fine. I also use them to make my stocks. So, and because you're not looking for texture of the carrot for chicken stock and turkey stock, you're just getting the flavor of the carrot. So any extra ones that I have, or if they're too big and I think they're going to be too bitter, or there's just one kind that we didn't like, I freeze those and I use them to make chicken and turkey stock. So I'll do succession planting of carrots. I don't have a whole bunch ready all at once. Even though I freeze them, I'd still like to have ones to munch on periodically instead of like hundreds of carrots. And what do I do? Where do I put all these? I'm really excited this year. I was watching Luke from M.A. Gardener and how he does his lettuce. So I bought a bunch of different kinds of lettuce, and what I'm going to do is plant them fairly close together, a lot closer than you would if you were just going to grow each one as its own head. I'm going to do that too and grow full head lettuce, but I'm going to have a patch in my garden where I plant them close together, and instead of thinning them out, I'm going to let them grow up. They're going to get kind of not necessarily leggy, but they're going to stay close together, and they'll be really good for salad greens, for little baby salad greens, and so I'll be able to harvest those in the fall, and it'll be delicious. So I have a bunch of lettuce, and then Brussels sprouts. I tried Brussels sprouts last year, these purple ones from Baker Creek, and the plant grew, but I definitely grew them way too late in the season. And so by the time it was ready to grow anything, it got too hot this spring and it just flowered. I never actually grew the Brussels sprouts. And I'll make a video, if these do well this year, I'll make a video on how these grow. But I just love Brussels sprouts roasted with radishes and some olive oil and a little balsamic. Oh. Along with maybe some cauliflower or broccoli or carrots, just any roasted vegetables. I love it. And so those are what I'm planning on planting this fall. And I know I have a lot. It's a lot of different seeds, and I'm only going to use a little bit of each. And some I have duplicates of, whether I accidentally ordered the same thing twice or someone gave me some and I already had it. That's okay, because I'll use it next year. So these are all my seeds. These are my fall seeds. Yes, I have a lot. I get bored at night, late in the evening, when I can't go out to the garden anymore because there's so many mosquitoes and gnats. And we've already eaten dinner and I'm bored. And instead of doing laundry or chores that I should be, or making dinner, prepping for the following evening, I go online and I order seeds. And that's okay because I didn't over order, I just have just enough, but I have a slight seed addiction, and that's okay. It makes me happy, and they're gonna go towards food, so I'm actually going to use them and grow them towards food to feed our family. So that makes, I don't know, to me that makes it okay. What I do to plan out my garden, and this is just a really rough drawing. I literally took a pencil, sketched it out. I really just wanted to get the shape of my garden. So mine's in this big old horseshoe type shape. And I have my opening right here, and then this is all walkway. So, and then where the X hash marks are trellis. So I have an arbor trellis that reaches over, and then these two trellises just stand straight. Oh, I just noticed Victor added a little note to my plan. So it says Sarge's gardening spot. One of our dogs, we have 4 dogs, one of the older dogs, Sarge, he's such a big teddy bear and he loves to hang out in the garden with me. And he usually just lays right here along the wood, the raised bed. And it's usually, because it's an arch here, it's shaded out by whatever I have growing on here. So he just lays down right here and I mosey around my garden and he just hangs out with me. So it says, he put Sarge's gardening spot. How cute. Okay, so all I did was kind of mark out where I want to put stuff. So my different kinds of cabbage, and I'm not going to go into different varieties. This is just a very basic, generic drawing, kind of where I want to put them. So cabbage, I have peas on both sides of this arch trellis. I have cauliflower here, broccoli, my Brussels sprouts, kale. Kale, I drew circles because I really only want to do 2 plants of the kale. I don't know how we're gonna like it. Celery, I want to grow a ton of celery, not only for snacks because Victor loves to eat just the celery, and I like to grow it myself instead of buying it from the store. But I use celery every time I make broth, and I make a lot of homemade chicken broth, chicken stock, turkey stock. We smoke turkeys, and so I'll take the bones and some of the skin from those turkeys, and I love the smoked flavor and the seasoning, and I'll make tons of stock to use in soups and stews, and it's actually one of my secret ingredients in my mashed potato recipe. But I always use celery. I think it gives such a great flavor to the stock, adds a little bit of depth, along with the carrots. So celery, I'm giving a decent sized section here. I want to try some Swiss chard. This is my radishes. Radishes are smaller, so they'll be fine. I'll probably do radishes throughout some of the other areas too. Then I have lettuce. So I have this whole thing for lettuce. I probably won't use all of it. I'll probably use, because we don't eat a ton of salads, but I do want to try the different kinds of varieties, both as head lettuce, but then do a section here for the greens for the salad, like what I was saying about Luke on Am I Gardener, how he does his. But I think that would be really neat to see, have the little rows. He does these just little rows of salad greens, and they just grew up so nicely together to use. But then I want to do the individual plants as well, just to see how they're gonna grow, because I'll probably use them differently. So these would be for salads, and then these bigger ones will be for like sandwiches and burgers and stuff. And then I have a huge section for carrots, and I'll probably mix some radishes over here too. But Victor loves carrots, and I like carrots too, but a lot of the stuff that I grow is for Victor. He loves snacking on fruits and veggies, and it just makes me happy. It's less things that I have to buy from the grocery store, and it's all healthy. So we're not eating junk food and chips and pretzels, and I found that over the past years I spent so much less money on groceries because I've been able to grow so many good snacks, good foods and good parts of meals. So this is basically what I do. It's very simple, just a rough idea. I'm gonna put this in my binder for when it comes time to fall. A lot of these I'm not gonna start in the starters. A lot of them I'm gonna plant straight into the bed, so directly from seed right into the bed. Especially the carrots. The carrots and the radishes. The radishes, because they grow so fast, there's no point in starting them in the seed starters. You'll just have to transfer them out. The carrots don't do well when you transfer them. They do so much better growing straight in the bed because, one, they're not going through shock. Two, carrots, if you put them in the starters and they and you take too long, you forget, or you don't catch them right at the right time to transplant them, they're not going to grow straight, and that's when you end up with all these like weird gnarly carrots. But for the fall plants, there's not too many of them that I'm going to start in starters. I'll end up doing the cabbage and the cauliflower mainly because I'm going to share a lot of those plants with family. For them, it's easier if we plant them in the little starters and then we can take them over to their garden and the girls transplant them out. And they'll do fine. They did fine this last fall. We got so many cabbages between the two of us, it was great. And I found a new cabbage dish that I'll have to share with you guys when I make it again. My mom actually shared this recipe with me and I made it for everyone and everyone loved it. So the cabbage, the cauliflower, maybe some broccoli. I'm also going to sow some directly into the garden, the broccoli, just because I've never had any good luck with broccoli. The Brussels sprouts, I'll probably do half and half, but the celery, the radishes for sure, the lettuce, the carrots, I'll probably sow directly in the seed. Sow the seeds directly in the garden, and definitely the peas. I found the peas do the best when they're sown directly into the soil. I did some this past, I think I planted them in January, I think is when I planted them, and they did fine. But again, we don't get a lot of frost, we don't get any snow. So again, it depends on your area. You can definitely start any of these in starters. Any of them. You're going to look on the packet. On the back of the packet, it gives you information. You can also go online and look at this information. But on the back of the packet, so this is Emma Gardner's Pink Swiss chard. On the back of the packet, it says days to germinate is 7 to 14 days. So 1 to 2 weeks from the time you put the seed in the soil for it to germinate and you to see a sprout come out of your starters. It's going to be about 1 to 2 weeks. It's going to be a little bit longer when the weather's colder, just because it's not as warm. And so a lot of people start these kinds of things in their greenhouse so that the plants grow sooner. I get so excited and so enthusiastic about the fall garden and wanting to start it, and of course I can't start mine until September, October is when I'm going to start planting seeds. And so I do this kind of thing to kind of like help myself like relax, be like, it's okay, you can wait. I mean, it's the middle of July, I've got a full garden out there. I'm harvesting tomatoes every other day. I'm harvesting cantaloupe. Watermelons coming in. I have all kinds of stuff. So I have a ton of stuff that I'm harvesting, and I love the summer garden. I think this is why I love gardening so much, is because it's not the same thing all the time. Every season it's different kinds of plants, and so you get that excitement twice a year, 4 times a year, depending on your seasons of what you're going to grow. So mine is twice a year. So twice a year I get that excitement of growing new seeds and having baby plants again and planning out another garden. What I do, I have a binder. It's not very big yet, and I might have more or a bigger one later depending on what all I put in it. But these go in there for the season until I've planted and move on to the next season. A good idea, depending on what you want to do with your garden. A lot of gardeners say it's good to rotate your crops. Other gardeners say it doesn't really matter as long as your soil quality is good if you're in a raised bed. So if you're going to rotate your crops, definitely keep these, especially if it's somewhat accurate as to what you actually planted, because then you can look back at it and see where you planted stuff. It's also a good idea to keep these because you can write notes and say, hey, this didn't do so well next to this plant because it got outshaded depending on where your sun is. And so right now, where I have my corn is shading out some of my bell peppers, so they're not doing well. So I like to keep these and put notes on where I planted what and what's getting outshaded by other things and what's getting sunburnt because it's in too much sun. It's just a good reference for the next season. So I keep all of these in a binder. I have this nice binder here. I got on clearance at Office Depot. That's why it's all sparkly. I printed out my own little cover sheet. But in here I have the calendar, and it's just a rough calendar I put all the months and I listed out the different veggies that I like to grow. And of course, as I explore new veggies, I'm gonna add them to this list. I might print out a new one. I have this saved in my Google Drive, so I always have access to this. But it's basically like a, okay, what's coming up next reminder. Like, okay, in my fall box, and I have in my seed boxes, I have them labeled. So I have 4 different boxes. So you split the year up into quarters. Every 3 months is a quarter. So I made these little labels with the months. This is July, August, and September. So that's when I kind of want to start these. And I'll probably start some of them in September, but I'll probably start a lot of them in October. So along with planning out the spacing of my garden for my fall garden and kind of drawing out where I want to put each plant, I also do a calendar. So a lot of the time I'll go in, like, so it's July now, and when I printed this calendar, I went in and looked up when my first frost day is supposed to be. It's going to be different for every area, and you're just going to Google it for the closest major city that you're in. So I'm in Fresno, so I Googled first frost date for Fresno. So I put my first frost date is gonna be right around December 3rd. That's what we're predicting. It could be sooner, it could be later. We might not get any frost this year, depending on how the climate and weather goes. But so I put December 3rd for mine. Put a big circle around it. That's gonna tell me how many days until the frost. So when I did this calendar, I just did how many days until December 3rd, and it told me 156 days. That was on July 1st. 156 days. So if you're in an area that you want to try and grow stuff that's still summer type stuff before the first frost date, you have 156 days, or I did, until my first frost. And there's a ton of stuff that I could grow in my garden if I planted it from seed right now. Ton of stuff that's under 156 days for growing. So I could have another growth and another harvest. But my growing season, my plants won't die off until the frost anyway. So my tomatoes will keep growing until December, until the first frost. So I don't need to start any more seeds right now. So you can do that. And then what I kind of do, so I don't want to start planting my fall seeds until September or October, but what I kind of do is kind of think about my succession planning. So like carrots and my cabbages and my radishes, those kinds of things where each seed is one vegetable or one plant. Those are the kinds of things that I want to succession plant, because I don't want to harvest 50 to 100 carrots all at once. I want to have them throughout a few months. So I start listing like kind of what week I'm thinking about starting certain veggies or starting certain plants. So like I put on here the first week of September, I was thinking maybe I'll start broccoli. And again, this is just a rough idea of when I'm gonna start stuff. As it gets closer to those months, of course, I'll know more of what the weather's like, what my garden's like. This year I'm gonna have a harder time because this year we're kind of ripping out the garden. When we built the garden, we did not put any kind of chicken wire or anything on the bottom, and so I've had a gopher problem the last 2 years, which is really frustrating, especially when you have this big beautiful cabbage and they go and eat half of it, and you've been waiting to harvest it until you're going to make dinner, and then you only get part of it, if not any of it. So this year we're going to once I rip out this garden, so I'm not going to wait until the frost, unfortunately, because I want to be able to get the fall garden in. So our fair is the first week of October. So I'm planning my starts around that. My fiance is an ag teacher, and during fair, he is not present at home because he's at the fair almost 24/7. So for 2 weeks, I will not have him to help me tear out that garden. So our plan is either the week or 2 weeks after fair, so sometime mid to late October, we're going to tear out the garden. Well, I'll tear out all the garden plants. We're going to dig up all of the dirt in sections and lay down wiring or something to prevent the gophers from going through. So I have to plan my seed starts based on germination rate and growth, so that they won't be ready to transplant until after we've finished redoing the garden. So that's going to be a little bit of my conundrum, I guess you could say, my puzzle this year, which is fine. And so I might have a late start on some stuff, but that's fine. But that's what I'm planning around. If you don't have that problem, you're basically just planning around either the frost, or if you have snow, or just whatever you want to do. So, but as it gets closer, I'll have a better idea. So I just kind of jot down which weeks I want to start in the seed starts, which kinds of plants, so that I get a good succession. Or what I want to plant in the garden. So of course the stuff that I want to direct sow into the garden, like carrots, the radishes, lettuces, stuff like that, I don't have those marked on my calendar until after November, which so we're going to see how all that does. So, and if they don't do well, then I'll wait and plant them again in spring, or before spring. It'll be like February for me. So that's kind of what I do. So I plan out timing wise as well as spacing. So when I'm getting excited and I'm planting the first plants in my garden, I don't go overboard. I kind of want to get a good idea of how many I'm going to plant, and I don't know really how many. I kind of just wing it every year. I always get a little excited and overplant. My transplants that I have extra of, I give away to friends and family, and they love it. And they grow gardens, especially with everything that's been going on with COVID. We've given away so many starts to families that have kids, and those kids have grown gardens for the first time. And I love sharing my love of gardening because it's something that I've found recently, and it's been so therapeutic for me, and I just love it. And if other people can enjoy it, see the joy, and learn how things grow, I want to share that with people. So that's why I grow so many plants. That's why I grow so many starts, because when I just get overexcited, and two, it doesn't matter if they're all going to fit in my garden, because I know they're going to be grown in someone's garden. So that's all I have today. Just wanted to kind of go over what I do for my fall garden, share with you my thoughts, how I process it. Everyone's going to do it differently, and that's okay. It really doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, works for you. As long as you're out there gardening, that's what makes me happy. Seeing other people enjoying the garden.